You got to slow down, slow down. You got to slow down.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. My name is Megan Smith, and I'm a professor at the University of British Columbia. I work in the Faculty of Creative and Critical Studies, and I've had the great pleasure of working with Gao Yujie for over 5 years. We've become friends, quite good friends throughout that process as well, and that has been quite an honor to be her supervisor for her PhD and also become friends and collaborators on our work as well. We first met in Regina, Saskatchewan, where she began her PhD studies, and then we both traveled nomadically across Canada
during
the pandemic, and decided to her supervisor for her PhD and also become friends and collaborators on artwork as well. We first met in Regina, Saskatchewan, where she began. I could try to loop some sound. That threw me off a little bit. Yeah, so for the last few years, we've been working collaboratively on a major project called All the Stars We Cannot See. While I've watched and participated in a number of other experiences that Yujie has developed with so many different artists, she's done hundreds of live performances and opportunities for engagement with people, and it's been quite an honor to watch that progress and see the archive of opportunities she's enabled for community around the world. Thank you.
Thank you.
And here we are again in another one. I'm going to pass over. And thank you. We're here because of her today.
Yeah. So. Let's do a introduction to ourselves first. So my name is Yujie. I'll talk about my practice later. I think we're good. And
my name is Xiaoshuan. I am a close friend and poet, and just overall admirer of Yujie's artwork, and I'm just really happy to be here to talk about like time and how this piece is like evolved and to listen to Yujie.
Where's here? I do have a slide during my performance time today. I built this slide. And I'm just gonna run it through while I talk. So this is from day, so it's running day 1, day 2, so bilinearly, and we'll see how it changes with the space. So when I started 5 weeks ago, it was an empty space, and the room today has changed quite a bit because we want to open up the space. So that wall was there, so it more looks like a stage or just like a working space there. So I primarily working on that wall. When I started, this projector content was towards that way. So there were 2 different layers of projection content. 3 years ago, I did a series of live stream performance. So every day I was using my iPad to draw improvisation drawings. So I recorded all the all the performance, and it was like archived on YouTube. So one of the performance I did in 2020 was I wrote down all the dates that I've been in Canada, start from the first day. So that was also the time that I've been away from my family. It was 2017, December 27. So when I started that performance, I was writing down the dates linearly. So from the first day I was here and second day and third day. So when I started my performance here, somewhere there was a drawing machine. You probably will see somewhere in the image. So the drawing machine was recreating one of the moments from the performance that I did in 2020. So the machine is recreating one of the moments from the past. So when I started my performance here, with the projection as a guide or invitation for myself in the present, I use brushes and putting papers on the wall to start just writing down. So you still could see some numbers there on the paper. So that's where I started. So I kind of like when I started, there's like 3 different layers of time in the space, which is me doing my performance in 2020, and machine recreating that one of the moments from that performance, and me in the present responding to those 2 layers and creating something new. And then that gets to where I'm at right now, which is hard to recognize dates on the paper, but it like as even I was using the past as my guide, the recording was constantly changing. So when I wrote down dates from the past, or using those recording as my guide, writing down dates from the past, I'm still cutting or like collecting pieces from the past to collage them into something new. So they're kind of like layering on top of each other. That's why it's getting more full and full. Something I really appreciate when I'm working here is when the audience came in and spending their time here with me. So when we started to, and I often just ask them if you would want to leave a mark on the wall. So sometimes they would just draw a line or writing that, or sometimes they would use the projection content as a guide because that's kind of safe to start. There was the very first participant that spent nearly 2 hours here. They did a small drawings and start with the projection content as their guide, and then slowly to review themselves to draw some like personal marks on the wall. And then spending their times here. And then after they done, we had a little chat. I asked how do they feel, and they said when they start drawing on the walls, they felt time slows down. I guess that's also often when we do drawings or when we get into our creative flows, we could feel time slows down, but at the same time pass so fast. It was really hard to prepare this artist talk for a few reasons. The first one is I'm still in here and I'm still in the process. So a lot of things I haven't really get a chance to digest. The second reason was because I have this huge archive, so whenever I'm working here, I have a live stream, record my whole actions and to just see how the space transform over time. And slowly the as the title suggested, flowing to unsettle. So one of the experiences I have in the space is really nothing here is fixed. I have been like if through the recordings we could see. Sometimes I would just playing around with the lightings in the room to see different changes. And I also have that flower there, start from the first day. So that's kind of a mark of how time has passed in a natural way. And when I'm playing with the lighting, I would draw down the shadows of the flowers. So that's, and then whenever the flower drops a leaf on the floor, I would mark the outline and wrote down the dates when the leaf dropped down. So just finding different ways of recording time in the space. I don't actually consider myself as a painter, because even though my action seems like I'm painting or drawing, but I feel what I'm doing here is using my body movement. This is quite a moment for me, just seeing that paper dropping down. And sometimes I will sit here and just wait, because through half of my time here, which is the third week, the canvas is getting really full. So I start to lose the tape that I was using, and then slowly, because of the gravity and the life cycle of the tape, the paper would drop down. So I remember one of the days I would just sit here and watching how the paper drop throughout time. And then there was one moment when everything dropped. It was a white wall at one point, at the beginning of this week. And then I want to specifically talk about 2 days. The first day is when I have this collaboration with Megan here, which is Tuesday.
Yes.
Today is Friday. Yeah, so Tuesday, the wall was actually empty. That's when she came in and we start working. That's the starting point. So after everything dropped, I collect everything and put them in a corner here. Can you see? Yeah, I collect them together. And so we start to use everything in the space as our brush to start a new composition with the materials I already have. And we did this pretty fast. It's probably like only over 2 hours. We put everything back with a new composition. The only thing that we kind of have a general sense was we're gonna do a gradient, because some of the paper is less black color, some of the paper is fully black. So we want to show, like, well, I mean, for me, I want to see the color range as a life cycle as well. And then the second collaboration I want to mention is when I did the collaboration with Marianne, who's also here.
Okay.
And I wouldn't recommend you to watch any of my recordings except this day because it's very watchable. So what we did is we prepared this very long paper and taped one part on the wall, and then we each take turns to paint on the paper. But when one person is holding the brush to paint, the other person is holding the other side. So when I'm holding the paper, I could also move around. So it's hard to define who is actually painting. And then something very interesting is when we slowly transform this paper and just using it as different ways of connection between us. And then this paper sometimes looks like a blanket, sometimes looks like a rope, and then we at one point we even just grab each side of the paper and trying to lean back, and that was scary. But we all safe and sound.
Yeah.
At nearly the end, we actually not lost. We put away the brush and the paper, and just become two of us. So at that point, I felt the paper, the brush, was just a bridge for us to connect. Yeah, please watch. It's very interesting. And that's the paper there as the end result. And then, as I mentioned, earlier this week we start to putting everything back, and that took me 3 weeks to, like, the first 3 weeks I put things back, and then they stay, I draw, and then they all fell. And then when Megan and I did those recomposition, it only take 2 days for everything to fall. So I put them back again. So we'll see. If tomorrow they fell, that's perfect because that's my last day. I'll just collect them. Yeah, so I think I'll just stop here. And then we can chat.